All right, your 401k or your IRA has completely crashed. It's hit the ground and it's gone down about 22% last year. But should you be taking your money and moving it into a Pokemon sealed or Pokemon singles investment? Well, let's take a look. All right, guys, let's take a minute to look at the facts of what we have last year. I'm Andy with Northwoods Collectors, and today we're going to be talking about the opportunities that are inside of Pokemon investing and what are the securities and what's going on with your traditional investment ideas and placements. So today, let's take a look at what we have for facts in the matter. And the facts that are coming to play right now is that traditional IRAs and 401ks had dropped about 23% last year in 2022. Now, is this going to continue into 2023 is the real question. And the overall answer to that question is we don't know for sure. It's just going to depend on how well the macro environment continues to go on that economy. Is the economy going to start to straighten out, flatten out, and finally hit its low point and it's no longer going to drop? A lot of statistics say no, we still are going to be seeing a drop when it comes down to these traditional investments, especially in the stock market. And we could also be seeing some really dark times ahead, depending on how the government and how our financial systems work through the current situations we have in the market. Now, is that meaning that today is the day that you should be looking at the other side of things? Now, let's take a look at Pokemon investments right now. Overall, from 2022 across the boards, Pokemon between modern and vintage had a 31% gain in 2022 from 2021. That's not including the newly released products. Those are all the products that were released in 2021 or older. 2022 products, of course, had done extremely well also. So once again, they are doing extremely well in the Pokemon sector. So is it going to be good timing to be moving into a Pokemon investment? Well, let's talk about that right now. All right, so the question on the board is it a wise time to be taking your money out of your traditional investments and moving it into a collectibles investment such as Pokemon, trading cards, or even sports cards? And to my general statement to this is going to be no. Here's my reasoning on why I would say that. Number one, there is no proven track record when it comes down to collectibles. Collectibles can be very stable and sometimes they can get very volatile. The markets can change rapidly and can be very, very unforgiving on the end of the day. And the second part of it is it's very difficult sometimes to get rid of these products and some of these items that you will purchase if this turns south. It's not like your traditional investments where you can just click a button and move them from here to more upstanding or better performing stocks at the end of the day. That's a huge downside to being in a collectibles market, is that you're dealing with a solid item, an actual physical item that takes time to sell. You got to store it and you got to move it at the end of the day in order to get your money back. Now, is that also a good thing to know that you're not having that track record? No. I mean, we've seen good performance in Pokemon, and is it continuing to move forward at the end of the day? Yes, we're seeing great things when it comes down to the sealed market, when it comes down to the investment side of things, and then also just the flipping and the actual money-making side of Pokemon. But will that hold up forever? That's yet to be seen. And there has been no history that shows that it will do that. We've seen booms, we've seen busts, we've seen Pokemon sit for years and do nothing when it comes down to it. And as soon as we think that things are stable and going, it could always drop out again, especially since it is probably and more than likely completely influenced by that macro economy. Right now, people do still have a little bit extra money. They're not traveling as much. They're not going as many places, and they're taking that money and placing it into Pokemon or into other collectible markets that they enjoy. And it's kind of a comfort thing at the end of the day, I think, for a lot of people. They're comfortable in it. They enjoy it, and it's something that they have no problem putting money into it. But if we do go into a full-blown recession or the macroeconomy completely falls out, it may also hurt the Pokemon TCG. It's something to keep in mind. Will it for sure? Anybody's guess is out there. I mean, we could sit there all day and go back and forth on what's going to perform and what's not. Now, the one thing that I will say is when it comes down to investing in a Pokemon, you're not going to get those dividend payments that come back out of it. You're not going to be in them stock splits. You're not going to be involved in a lot of the things that are very, very helpful for your long-term investments into your IRA or your 401ks. Now, personally, I do a Roth IRA. My business is self-employed, so I do not have a traditional 401k, nor does it make sense for me. For me, I use a Roth IRA. Now, the nice thing about a Roth IRA is that you have to just be in it for 5 years. And if after 5 years, it becomes a non-taxable investment. So as soon as I stop putting money into it after 5 years, I can continue to get that money back, the payments out of that account with no taxes. Now, with the current structures and the things that we're seeing with the IRS moving things to $600, is that structure going to be there when it comes down to it? No, you're going to be paying taxes on anything that you sell coming out of your inventory in the end of the day. So when it comes down to it, you're going to also have the taxable accounts that are coming with this, and that's something to keep in mind also when you're selling in the future just now, or if you're planning on this being a retirement fund. I mean, some people I do know I talk to think that this will be a retirement option at the end of the day. Do I think that you should be doing that? It could be a good alternative. I think it's a great alternative investment, and I think it's a very good, sound, probably a proven track record. Do I think Pokemon's going to be out of business by the time that I'm at the retirement age? Possibly. I mean, you're talking about 20 years in the future. Next 10 years, do I see Pokemon going away? No, I see that Pokemon will be continuing to do well. I don't think that it's going to be dropping out. If we didn't lose it in the end of the 90s, I don't see us losing it by the end of the 2000s. So once again, I think that you're in a pretty good, safe position to be able to invest into this and know that you're going to have the securities of this company continuing to move forward. Now, at the end of the day, is this a good time, or should you be using this as a primary investment? No. Keep your securities in your IRAs. Trust the system. The system has done well for the last 100 years. Yes, we went through a Great Depression. Yes, we've gone through recessions, but overall, they do work well, and the securities are there and better. You have more of a security blanket when it comes down to your traditional IRAs and 401ks at the end of the day. Yes, I like pensions better. Getting rid of the pension system in this country was very detrimental to the overall retirements of people, but at the end of the day, we have what we have, and you should continue to use those as your best alternatives and take that extra money that you may have put into investments on something else and turn them into Pokemon investments, sports cards, all those collectibles investments. Those would be the places to use that, not as a primary source of investment. Now, we're going to take a look at what kind of items should you be investing in when it comes down to Pokemon. So when it comes down to Pokemon, there are several opportunities and areas that you should probably be specifying when it comes down to investing. Now, if you want to, follow the Choose Your Path series where you can see the collective of people doing well in different paths in Pokemon and how they've actually accomplished this. But overall, when it comes down to the Pokemon market, these are typically the areas that I prefer to stay in and that I see the best success through all the numbers and things that we've seen thus far. And the number one thing is going to be sealed booster boxes. Sealed booster boxes in the Pokemon TCG are always a safe bet at the end of the day. They do really well. They continue to gain over time. Every set has had their good opportunities and their good gains through each one of these. And eventually, it seems like every era has one particular box that just explodes. For example, in Sword and Shield era, we're looking, of course, at Evolving Skies being that one. You can go through and you can look down into even XY Evolution or XY era. You had Roaring Skies up until the reprints that happened. So there's always an item or a set that does extremely well back in those time periods, Cosmic Eclipse and Sun and Moon. But the problem is trying to decipher which booster box is the best one is probably the most difficult time to do. So that's why sometimes blanketing and buying a few of every one of them is going to be your best option. Most of them do well over time. They mostly gain, but one of them may pop off and be a very good and successful investment at the end of the day. Next item that I always suggest is going to, of course, be your ETBs. Keeping sealed ETBs is another opportunity. Now, Sword and Shield ones may not do as well as some of the older ones, just because they seem to be getting the brunt of the reprints in the Sword and Shield block compared to Sun and Moon and XY and going all the way back to Black and White when the first one emerged. They did not get reprints back then, but in Sword and Shield, they had no problems doing reprints. And due to the fact that they are easier to get to more big box stores and retailers, they seem to be running on that trend. Now, how long they'll run that trend, we do not know. But ETBs have their advantages even at the end of the day. They are a smaller amount of price, so you get a lower price point getting into these even at the MSRP or buy-in point at your retail store. You get 8 packs, you get sleeves, you get all the things that you need to be able to start playing Pokemon inside of those, which is a nice little bonus that you get for that. The other part of it is too is that they are displayable, as you can see behind me. ETBs display very nicely and have a uniformity to them that looks good on the shelf and carries some very good fan favorite Pokemon that are driving factors for collections at the end of the day. So in my opinion, these items are extremely nice to have. They do well. Even Sword and Shield ETBs with reprints of constant sets seems to still do well, just aren't carrying as much weight as the booster box currently in the Sword and Shield block. Now, next product I like to look at is, of course, going into grading PSA 10s. Now, I'm saying grading for a reason. Purchasing into PSA 10s sometimes is more expensive than just grading your own. Especially in modern Pokemon, it's actually very good percentages come out at a 10 level. As long as you know the basics of what you're looking at with the centering, looking for nicks and whitening on them corners, and being sure that the corners are nice and rounded versus getting that off-center cut that we can sometimes see on corners. That's why this is important. That if you are going to go into the grading side of things, do a lot of research on videos. Buy they make little plastic covers and things like that that'll help you out at the end of the day to be able to assess the gradability of a card. If you can get the centering down on most modern cards when you pull them pack fresh, you're already going to have a really good step in the right direction at the end of the day. Just being sure that you send a clean card, know how to properly clean them. There's plenty of YouTube videos that show you how to properly clean these cards so that you don't make marks, scratches, and dings on them before sending them. Putting them in the proper shielding. So I use a dragon shield when I send them inside of course, a card saver when you ship them to PSA or CGC or any other grading companies that you use. Once again, grading 10s is the most profitable way of doing that and gives you the best opportunities in the overall investments at the end of the day. Next thing I want to talk about is singles. Now, singles, there's a lot of opportunities in singles, in my opinion. You could sit there and really focus on some of the singles that'll do really well. Personally, my focus is based on alternate arts. We've got full art trainers going into gold cards, rainbow rares, and baby shinies coming through hidden fates and shining fates. To me, those are really good opportunities and they look really well. They're presentable, displayable cards at the end of the day that are very, very good overall for futuristic buying for people in collections. Once again, when you're looking at the investment side of things, you shouldn't be looking at selling to other investors. At the end of the day, they're the people that are not going to be purchasing them for the high pricing. They're not going to be they're always trying to pay the pricing you're looking for. They're going to try and get it 20 to 30% under market value because of course they're trying to pad their investments. You want to be looking at what collectors want at the end of the day. What are collectors going to be interested in? What are they going to be purchasing? What are they going to want to finish their collections? That's going to be the most important thing at the end of the day is what do the collectors want, and get away from this bias, that herd mentality that this is a stupid card, nobody should buy it. Sometimes those cards are actually the best cards that you should be buying because nobody's actually investing into those. Sometimes when everybody's looking to the left, you should be looking to the right. And that's the most important thing at the end of the day is just understanding that aspect and really picking through when it comes down to singles, which ones you think will do well based on what people would want for a collection. So once again, guys, that's going to be my biggest advice when it comes down to it. Now, just in closing, so at the end of the day, should you be moving your investments from your traditional 401k IRA into a Pokemon or a collectibles investment? No, I don't think that that's a smart maneuver in any way, shape, and form. I think it's better to let those particular items stay in your Pokemon collection and use your expendable money to do that. Use money that you may have put into investment as extra securities into your retirement funds and maybe take that money and use it for your collectibles and go into that type of investment. But I would still keep your base amount of money in primary investments inside of your traditional investments. Those give you the best securities, number one. The companies are usually there. They shift, they modulate and move depending on where the best profits are. So, for example, the Dow Jones Industrial will shift companies inside of it to give you the best performing stock. Same with Nasdaq, same with Spiders, same with any of them, even the S&P 500. These are the 500 best performing companies in that sector, and they will adjust and move companies out to give you the best performance at the end of the day. So it's always changing. And that's the biggest thing is that people need to realize is that yes, Pokemon's a good investment. Yes, in the last 2 to 3 years, it has done fantastic and has given people freedoms and gains and just above their wildest dreams for what we thought it would perform at. Did we think that boom would last as long as it has and we would be seeing another uptick here this soon afterwards? No, none of us believed that we would be seeing this. But once again, depending on the company's performance, the lack of booster boxes, the lack of product is creating another uptick in the Pokemon TCG with the pricing in these boxes. The only problem is that just like any collectibles market, there can always be more product produced, and that could drive that pricing down at the end of the day. While in a stock market or your traditional investments, there's usually a set volume, and that volume cannot be changed unless you get a benefit for doing so. So splitting stock or doing that kind of stuff at the end of the day will increase your position in it without you having to spend more money necessarily to do so. So once again, guys, these are all the things you need to be considering when it comes down to it in your investments and where you want to put your investments. Should you be removing money from a traditional investment and moving it to a collectibles investment? Absolutely not. I would never suggest doing anything like that. But I do suggest that if you are interested in Pokemon investing, yes, use expendable money. Use the money that you maybe would have put on as a bonus into that kind of stuff that you can afford to lose and put it into your Pokemon investment or your collectibles investments, and you'll do well at the end of the day. So once again, guys, I'm Andy with Northwoods Collectors. Hopefully this is some good information and it helps you out with your Pokemon investment. Hopefully this clears it up on whether you should be pulling out of your investments and moving it to a collectible investment, and personally just leave it where it is. If you do like this kind of information and you've made it this far into the video, be sure that you hit that subscribe, guys. We're moving right along and it's all because of you guys. Also hit that like. It helps us out a ton, especially if you've made it this far into the video. And last but not least, if you do like this kind of content, check out these 2 videos over here. I will put them up for you afterwards. And we will see you next time here on Northwoods TCG.